We live on a tiny blue speck, floating in an infinite ocean of darkness. Since the dawn of time, humanity has looked up at the stars and asked one single question: where did we come from? For centuries, we thought we had to choose. You either believed in science or you believed in scripture. But what if they are telling the same story? And what if the discoveries of modern astrophysics, from the explosion of the Big Bang to the expansion of the universe, were already recorded? Recorded not in a lab, but in a book revealed over 1400 years ago in the Arabian desert. In this series, we bridge the gap between ancient faith and modern physics. We will analyze the text, we will examine the evidence, and we will discover the blueprint of creation. Welcome to the divine cosmos. Imagine a time before time. Imagine a place where place does not exist. Strip away the earth beneath your feet. Remove the sky above your head. Extinguish the sun. Erase the stars. What is left? For thousands of years, the greatest minds of humanity stood on the shores of this cosmic ocean and asked the same question: how did it begin? Did the universe emerge from chaos? Was it hatched from a cosmic egg? Or has it simply always been here, eternal and unchanging? For centuries, the prevailing belief among philosophers, from Aristotle to the early 20th century, was that the universe was static. It had no beginning. It would have no end. It simply was. But then we built machines that could see back in time. And what we found terrified some and exhilarated others. We found that the universe was not eternal. We found that the universe was born. 13.8 billion years ago, the Big Bang. It was not an explosion in space, but an explosion of space. In that first trillionth of a second, a moment known to physicists as the Planck epoch of all of creation was compressed into a single point. When the Belgian physicist Georges Lemaitre first proposed this idea in 1927, he called it the hypothesis of the primeval atom. He suggested that the universe began from a single point and has been stretching out ever since. 2 years later, Edwin Hubble confirmed it. He saw that the galaxies were rushing away from us. If you rewind the tape of history, everything moves backward, closer and closer, until it all smashes back into that one single fused point. This discovery changed human history. It proved that the universe was not infinite in age. It had a specific moment of birth. It meant that before the separation of the heavens and the earth, everything was one. But while Lemaitre was looking through his telescope in the 1920s, a book that had been sitting on library shelves for over 1,000 years had already described this event. But while Lemaitre was looking through his telescope in the 1920s, a book that had been sitting on library shelves for over 1,000 years had already described this event. Let us travel back 1,400 years to the 7th century, the Arabian Peninsula. A land of poets and traders, far removed from the observatories of the Greeks or the libraries of Alexandria. And if it was here, under the vast canopy of the desert night, that a man named Muhammad, peace be upon him, began to recite verses he claimed were from the creator of the heavens. The Quran is often viewed as a book of law or morality, but scattered throughout its chapters are verses that speak of the natural world with an authority that seems out of place for its time. In Surah Al-Anbiya, the 21st chapter, verse 30, the Quran addresses those who study the universe. It issues a challenge. Listen closely to the translation. Have those who disbelieve not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity and we separated them? To the casual reader, this is poetic. But to the linguist and the scientist, this is precise. Let us break down the Arabic vocabulary used here, because the miracle lies in the specific choice of words. The first keyword is Ratq. The first says the heavens and earth were Ratq. In classical Arabic dictionaries, written centuries before the Big Bang theory was ever conceived, the word Ratq has a very specific set of meanings. It means to sew up. It refers to a garment that is stitched together so tightly that there are no holes. It means a fused mass. It describes something that is blended into a single, integral whole. It does not mean chaos. It does not mean mixture. It means fusion. This is exactly how modern cosmology describes the singularity. It was a rat, a fused entity where matter and space were stitched together. You could not distinguish the earth from the heavens. They were one substance. Think about the implications of this. In the 7th century, the common understanding of creation came from various myths. The Babylonians believed the universe was made from the corpse of a slain dragon. The Greeks believed in a primordial chaos. Yet the Quran avoids these mythologies entirely. It chooses a word, Ratqas, that implies a unified, solid singularity. But the verse continues. It says, and we separated them. The Arabic word used here is fatquaq. In the Arabic language, Ratq and fatquaq are antonyms. If Ratq is to stitch together, fatq is to rip apart, it means to unstitch, to disunite, to break open. This verb perfectly captures the violent, rapid expansion of the Big Bang. Science tells us that in the first moments of creation, gravity broke away from the other forces. Then, the strong nuclear force broke away. The universe literally unstitched itself. Matter separated from energy. Space separated from time. The heaven space and the earth. Matter were torn apart from that single, fused mass. We separated them. The parallel is undeniable. How could a text from the 600 AD describe the universe as a fused mass that was ripped apart? This was a time when people believed the sky was a solid roof held up by pillars. They believed the stars were small lamps hanging from that roof. The idea that the earth and the vast heavens were once the same thing, crushed into the same point, was scientifically impossible to conceive at that time. Skeptics often argue that ancient texts are vague, that we are reading modern science back into old words. This is called concordism. But we must ask ourselves, is this verse vague? It provides two specific physical states. State 1, Ratq, fusion. State 2, Fatqa, separation. If the Quran had said the universe was created from nothing, it would be correct, but simple. If it had said the universe was organized from chaos, it would align with Greek philosophy, but contradict modern physics. But it didn't say that. It said the universe was a joined entity that was separated. This is a specific, falsifiable claim about the mechanism of creation. A claim that we could only verify 1,300 years later, after the invention of the Hubble telescope and the discovery of cosmic microwave background radiation. This map you see on screen? This is the echo of the Big Bang. It is the cooling heat of that initial separation. It is the fingerprint of the fatquaq. The discovery of the Big Bang was uncomfortable for many scientists. Why? Because a Big Bang implies a beginner. If the universe has a beginning, it demands a cause. The Quranic verse doesn't just give us physics, it gives us theology. It reminds the reader, have those who disbelieve not considered. It frames this scientific fact as a sign for those who deny the divine. It uses the physical reality of the universe's origin to point toward a metaphysical reality, that there is a power independent of space and time, capable of initiating this massive expansion. The rock was the seed of the cosmos. The fat was the sprouting. Everything you see around you, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the gold in your ring, the oxygen in your lungs, all of it was once crushed together in that single, fused point. We are all remnants of that first divine tearing. But the story does not end with the explosion. Once the heavens and earth were separated, the universe did not instantly turn into the starry night sky we see today. For millions of years, the cosmos was dark. It was hot. It was suffocating. It was a state that modern astronomers call the cosmic dark ages. What was the universe made of during this time? If you ask a modern astrophysicist, they will tell you it was a gaseous mass. But if you open the Quran to chapter 41, verse 11, you will find a word that describes this state with haunting accuracy. A word that distinguishes between mist and smoke. In the beginning, there was an explosion, a fact, a tearing apart of the heavens and the earth. But what happened next? When we look up at the night sky today, we see diamonds on black velvet, clear, crisp, and empty. But the early universe was not like this. It was not clear, and it was certainly not empty. For nearly 300,000 years after the Big Bang, the universe was a terrifying place. It was a hot, dense, opaque soup of particles. Light could not travel freely. If you had been there, you wouldn't have seen stars. You would have been blinded by a glowing fog. Scientists call this the primordial gas. But 1,400 years ago, the Quran gave it a different name. A name that captures not just the look of this state, but the physics of it. To build a star, you need raw material. That material is gas. Mostly hydrogen and helium. In the early universe, this gas was everywhere. Gravity slowly began to pull these clouds together. As they clumped, they heated up. These vast clouds are called nebulae. They are the nurseries of the stars. Look closely at a nebula. What does it look like to you? Early astronomers thought they looked like clouds. But there is a problem with the word cloud. On Earth, clouds are made of water vapor. They are cold. They are wet. The gas in the early universe was not wet, and it was certainly not cold. It was a superheated haze of ionized gas. So, if you cannot call it a cloud, what word do you use? Let us turn to Surah Fussilat, chapter 41, verse 11. Here, the Creator describes the phase of creation that followed the initial separation. The verse says, "Then he directed himself to the heaven while it was smoke, and said to it and to the earth, Come willingly or by compulsion." The word used here is Dukhan. In Arabic, Dukhan means smoke, not mist, not cloud, not steam. Smoke. Why is this distinction important? Let's look at the linguistics. The Arabic word for cloud is sahab. The word for mist is dhabab. Both of these imply moisture and coolness. But Dukhan, smoke, implies two things. First, it is gaseous. Second, and most importantly, it is associated with heat. This is scientifically flawless. Astrophysicists confirm that the early universe was a hot, gaseous haze. Stars are formed when this smoke haze collapses under gravity, heating up until it ignites nuclear fusion. Using the word mist would have been scientifically wrong. Mist is cold. Using the word cloud would have been misleading. Clouds are water. But so smoke. Smoke is the perfect analogy for a hot, opaque, gaseous mass. Critics might say, well, perhaps the prophet saw a sandstorm and thought the sky was made of dust. But the verse doesn't say dust. It specifically identifies a state of matter that constructs the heavens. In fact, famous astronomers have noted that scientists often struggle to describe early cosmic matter. They call it fog or haze. But smoke is perhaps the most accurate description ever given because it accounts for the heat and the opacity. The verse continues, "And he said to it and to the earth, Come into being obediently." Gravity took hold of the smoke. The smoke swirled. It collapsed. It heated up. And from the darkness of the Dukhan, the first stars ignited. The smoke didn't disappear, it transformed. It became the galaxies, the suns, and the planets. The very atoms in your hand right now were once floating in that cosmic smoke, waiting for the command to form. First, the Ratq, the fusion. Then, the Fatq, the separation. Then, the Dukhan, the smoke. The sequence is perfect. The description is precise. But the universe didn't just form and stop. It is still doing something else. It is moving. It is growing. In the next chapter, we will look at one of the most significant discoveries of the 20th century, the expanding universe.